So the first thing you'll need is line. I like to go 12 pound or 14 pound test fluorocarbon. So it doesn't really matter which line you use. I tried it with the 14 pound test and the 12 pound test. I found no difference in hookup ratio or hookup rates in general. But if you want a little bit more power and not worrying about getting snipped off too much, then I'd go with the 14 pound test. But if you want to stay finesse and you want to basically keep the line invisible as possible, then I'd go with the 12 pound test. But other than that, these two lines, 14 pound and 12 pound fluorocarbon, there's no real difference. So the first thing you want to do, I like to start off with making an arm span of line. Then you want to take your tag in and just make a loop knot. Pull in the tag. Lubricate. Then you have your basic loop. The next thing you want to do is trim off your tag end, and you're ready to start the rest of your rig. So the top loop will be connected to your snap swivel, or you can just have no loop and just tie on to like a barrel swivel. You can do that as well, but this just makes it easy to take on and off. Now you want to make about 1.5 feet of line. Then you want to make your next loop. You want to make this loop a little bit bigger than the one you had before. Make another basic loop. You can do the regular dropper loop knot as well, but if you're only catching up Opelu, then this is more than enough. So after you get your first one, as you can see, my top end that goes to my snap swivel then goes into my first loop. And now from my first loop over here, I like to make it about the same length away. So from here, same thing, make your dropper loop. It's just basically have your loop, you make a loop with your line, go over your finger, take the loop out of your finger until you have 2 loops, like that, then wrap it around first loop, pinching it with your finger, then put it through the loop and pull it through. So now we have 2 areas that we can put our hooks. Now you can see after that, an arm span of line basically came short. Well, I tend to not cut off my lines after. So if I'm running short on my leader, I just pull out more line. The same thing from here. The spacing is important because you don't want your lines to tangle with each other. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the top. We have 5 areas for bait. Now at the bottom, you want to make your loop a little bit bigger because this is where you're going to attach your lead. I think this is also called a surgeon's loop, but I am not too sure. You just trim off your tag in like so. We used rubber bands before, but after using it for some time, the rubber bands will break and you lose your lead. Just pull it through over the lead until it makes an overhand on top of the lead. Now the second thing you want to do after you make your rig, after you put in your lead, we have this loop. Now it's super simple. All you gotta do is just trim off one side of the loop. It holds. I mean, this method was able to catch a yellow spot, still held. So after you do this, you have a full line to work with. What you want to do, you want to put it through the eye of the hook and tie a uni knot. If you don't know how to tie a uni knot, there's a lot of good videos out there. Jesus Christ. One. Hold up. I gotta use my mouth. Okay. So after you tied your uni knot, focus please. Focus. No focus. Semi-focused. Cut off your tagging like normal. Like so. Let's make my life easier, shall we? That can be the last thing to put on. Now, everything else is just rinse and repeat. Cut off one side of the loop knot, cut off one side, and you use the other side to tie your hook. Opelu like gold hooks in the daytime. At nighttime, to catch Opelu, you need black line. I think it's because they can see the reflection. Pull it, lubricate it. Ow, my finger. Tight down. Voila. All right, so after all your rigs are tied, you have your top loop that goes onto your snap swivel. Then you go down to your first one. You go down some more to your second one. And then you go down a little bit, ow. Down to your third one, to your fourth one. And finally, to your fifth one. Oops. To your fifth one. This loop goes onto your lead, 4-ounce lead. I like to use anything more, kind of goes down to the Opelu a little bit too fast and it misses the school. After you make your rig, you can tie on your soft plastic. If you have handmade flies and stuff, you can, instead of having the regular gold hook, you can just tie on your Opelu flies. And I noticed for Opelu, hookup rate with clear colors tend to be best. For just demonstration purposes, Big Island Baits, Lihing Orange. Now my dad, when he saw this bait, he was like, okay, how do you hook it up? Kind of got a system down. So for this particular bait, there's this little square and it goes fat to skinny. I like to put it on like how I put on my stuff for my whipping setup. I like to go through the top just a little bit, and once it starts getting to this shank, then I put it up, slide it, just like that. Doesn't really affect the action. I caught plenty of Opelu using this setup, and that's basically it. There's so much good setups out there. A lot of kayak guys make really good setups. This works for me. It's really easy, and I always think of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So I hope this helped, and hope you can try it out. This is just how I do it. Whee! Until next time, shooties.